Alright students, today we are going to start chapter 11, which is the study of area and perimeter. Most of you will find that a lot of this is review because you started learning about area and perimeter way back in elementary school, and then you practiced it again through middle school. Okay, so just a quick review of the terminology. Perimeter is the distance around a figure, and area is all the space that's covered inside of the figure. So perimeter is around, and it's measured in units, and area is the space inside, which is measured in square units. Okay, so here we have the area of a square postulate. The area of a square is the square of the length of one of its sides. Okay, so here, if you label this S for the side, and we know this is a square because we have it marked with right angles and all the sides are congruent, we know that the area is equal to S raised to the second power. Area of a rectangle, the area of a rectangle is the product. Remember, the word product means to multiply, the answer to a multiplication problem, of its base and height. A lot of you may have learned it as length times width, but because we are going to add parallelograms in a minute, and a rectangle is a parallelogram, we're going to use base times height. But it doesn't matter, either one works, it's the same thing. Alright, so here, this is a rectangle where opposite sides are congruent. One of these is you would have known this as length and width, and we're just going to think of it as base and height. And you can see that they match up perfectly. Okay, area, congruence, postulate. If two polygons are congruent, then they have the same area. And that's it. So if these two are congruent, then you know that their areas are equal. Area addition postulate. You've been using this for years, but you never knew that it actually had a name called the area addition postulate. The area of a region is the sum of the area of its non-overlapping parts. Okay, so you would find the area of this parallelogram and the area of this parallelogram, and you would add them together. Okay, parallelograms. Either pair of parallel sides can be used as the basis of a parallelogram. So it doesn't matter if it's sitting like this up here, or if we turn the paper and it's sitting like this. Either one of those can be a base. Just like before, either one could be a length and a width. Length or the width. Okay, so here, the height is the perpendicular distance between the bases. This is true for any figure. If you take this rectangle and think about it in layers, and you transform it into a parallelogram, all we're doing is we're pushing the layers over to the right. But notice how we didn't change any of the space. We didn't subtract any or add any space. We took that same area and we just pushed it over so that it became a parallelogram. Therefore, the formula for the area of a parallelogram is the same as that of a rectangle. Area of a parallelogram is the product of a base, because remember, you could have one base, or this one could be a base, or that could be a base. So a base and its corresponding height. So here, area equals base times height. base, and then notice how the height is not the side, it is the distance between the two, and it has to be shown as perpendicular. Sometimes they show it out here, and they just extend the side, but they still show that it's a right angle, that they're perpendicular. Okay, next, triangles. Since a triangle is formed when we cut a rectangle or a parallelogram in half, the formula for the area of a triangle is half the formula for the area of the rectangle or parallelogram. So here you've got your rectangle, cut it in half, and there's a triangle. Or you've got this rhombus here, if you cut it in half, it forms a triangle. So that's why it's base times height divided by 2. Okay, so here, the area of a triangle is 1/2 the product of a base and its corresponding height. Okay. Examples. So I'm going to work through a couple of examples, even though these should be very simple for you, but I just want to make sure that you're showing work. Now, depending on your printer may have printed these a little light because they were in color, so I'm going to tell you what the sides are. This one over here, the side is 17. This side over here should be 10. This side right here is 21. And of course the height is 8. So it says find the perimeter and the area of the polygon. When you're finding the perimeter, I would like for you to write down P equals, and then tell me what the sides are. 17 plus 10 plus 21. Okay, and then you can plug it into your calculator, but I just want to see that you know which sides you're adding together. This is going to get more complicated in the future, and I want to make sure that you are adding the correct sides. So here, when we add this, put it in our calculator, we get 48, and they didn't give us a unit, so you put units. Okay, now area. Area is base times height divided by 2. So here, the base of this one is going to be the 21. So 21 times the height, which is 8, divided by 2. Now, when you plug that into your calculator, 21 times 8 divided by 2, you get 84 units squared. Okay, so this is the work that I want to see. What are you plugging into the calculator, and what does it equal? All right, the next one, perimeter. Now, in this one, not all the sides are labeled, but we know that opposite sides are congruent. So I have 2 of these, which if your printer's too light, that's a 30, and 2 of these over here, which is 20. So 2 times 20 plus 2 times 30 is another way that you can show the perimeter. You can write 20 plus 30 plus 20 plus 30 if you want, or you can write it this way. Okay, so when I plug this into my calculator, 40 plus 60, I get 100 units. All right, next, area. Show me what you're plugging into your calculator. The base of this one is 30. Now don't be confused. The height is not 20. The height is the distance between the two bases. So here I'm going to multiply 30 times 17. Base times height. Okay, so base times height, that's going to be 21, so 0, 21, 510. Area equals 510 units squared. Okay, the next one, if your printer's a little light, that's going to be 5. This is going to be 13, and they didn't tell us what this side was. I'm going to call this side X. But we can use, since it's a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean theorem. Remember, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And remember that it doesn't matter about the a or the b, but the C is important. Across from the right angle, that's your C. The largest side will always be the C. So that's going to be 5 squared plus x squared equals 13 squared. I know this is 25. I know this is 169. So here I'm going to say x squared is equal to 169 minus 25, which I know is equal to 144. And if I take the square root of both sides, I get x equals 12. So I know this side is 12 units. Again, show your work by just showing me what you're going to be plugging into your calculator. 5 plus 13 plus 12. And I know that the perimeter is equal to, that's 18 plus 12, that's 30 units. All right, next, area, base times height divided by 2. Make sure you're using the base and the height, not the hypotenuse. So area is equal to 12 times 5 divided by 2. So that's going to be 60 divided by 2 is 30 units squared. And this happens occasionally where the area and the perimeter match. Not very often, as you can tell, but it does happen. Okay, the next one. It says a parallelogram has an area of 153 square inches and a height of 17 inches. What is the length of the base? When you have a problem like this, I always want to see you write down the formula. Area equals base times height is the area of a parallelogram. Okay, then plug in what you know. This is the A, so for A, I'm going to put in 153 equals, the base is what I'm looking for, so I don't know what that is, and the height is 17. Now, this is the algebra part. The geometry part is over. Here's the algebra part. Divide both sides by 17. Plug that into your calculator. B equals 9. Now, always make sure you label. They gave me inches, and this is a base, so that's going to be inches, not inches squared. Now remember, folks, on this unit, if you do not label your answers, you will get points taken off. Multi-step problem. This is going to take a little bit extra room here because of the picture, and the picture is very light, so I'm going to go over the picture as well. You need to buy paint so that you can paint the side of a barn. A gallon of paint covers 350 square feet. How many gallons should you buy? Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to write down my formulas. I see a triangle and I see a rectangle. So area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, and area of the rectangle is going to be base times height. Okay, so if you see here, this should be 26 feet. This is 18 feet. So the rectangle is going to be 26 times 18, and I end up with 468, and that's feet squared. Now on the triangle, this is what you see. You see this triangle, you see a right angle, and you see this hash mark, and you know that this is 26 feet. Okay, so I'm going to redraw that over here. I've got a right triangle, which is isosceles because the two legs are equal. I know that this is 26 feet, but I do not know what this side or this side is. Well, folks, you should recognize this as a 45-45-90 triangle. special right triangles. And when you had the hypotenuse and you were looking for the side, remember that was when you had to divide by the square root of 2. So x is equal to 26 divided by the square root of 2. Now remember, folks, you can't leave it like that. You have to multiply it by the square root of 2 over square root of 2. That's called rationalizing the denominator. So x equals 26 rad 2 over 2. And of course we have to simplify. So x is equal to 13 rad 2. Okay, so now back over here for my triangle, area is going to be the base. Now remember, this is the triangle here. Base is going to be 13 rad 2. The height, it's an isosceles triangle, so the height is also going to be 13 rad 2 divided by 2. And you can plug this straight into your calculator, but remember, this is going to be 13 times 13, which is 169. Rad 2 times rad 2, remember the square roots, they cancel each other out, so that's just going to be 2. So 169 times 2 is 338 divided by 2, and you get 169 feet squared. So, what is the total area? We're going to add those together. Total area. That's going to be 468 plus 169. That's going to give me 637 feet squared. Now, go back and read the problem. I found my total area, but did I answer the question? It says, how many gallons should I buy? Well, if I'm trying to figure out how much paint to buy, I have to take my total area and divide it by how much it will cover. So here, I'm going to just borrow this area right here. For the paint, you take your 637 and you divide it by 350. When you plug that into the calculator, you get 1.82 and approximately 1.82. Now, folks, you can't buy a portion of a gallon. You can buy like a half gallon, but they want to know how many gallons. They don't want pints, quarts, or anything else. They just want gallons. So here, since I can't buy a partial gallon, I'm going to round this up to 2 gallons. I must buy 2 gallons. Must buy 2 gallons. All right, next. Suppose there is a 5-foot by 10-foot rectangular window on the side of the barn. Okay, so let's say that there's a window right here. We would not paint the window. So what we need to do is figure out the area of the window and then subtract that from the this total area. Okay, so area of the window is a rectangle, which is base times height. So here I'm going to say 5 times 10, or 50 feet squared. So my new total area would be 637 minus 50, which is 587 feet squared. Now, folks, remember, you got to show work. So here, this is what I'm plugging into my calculator. There's the answer. This is what I'm plugging into my calculator. There's the answer. So don't just assume that I can read your mind. You've got to show work. All right, so now let's check the paint. It says, now how much paint will I need? What is the approximate area you need to paint? Well, here's the approximate area I need to paint. But let's see if the amount of paint changes that I need to buy. So paint. Again, remember, you take the total area you need to paint, which is 587, divide it by 350, and this time I get approximately 1.67. So no, it doesn't change the amount of paint I need. I still need still need 2 gallons. I'll just have more left over. All right, folks, that is it for notes 8.1. All right, I'm sorry, 11.1.